Welcome to Air 21. We're so happy to have you. I'm very grateful that you have each decided to join our community and continue to join our community. So I'd encourage you to join me and call for aid and support from all that is. As we are one with all that is, and we feel the universal energy of all that is flowing through us now. Shall we call forth aid and support from all that is, as we are one with all that is, and it is flowing through us now? We feel the universal energy of all that is. Shall we call forth aid and support from all that is, as we are one with all that is, and it is flowing through us now? We feel the universal energy of all that is. Of course, we call for the truth. Shall we all call for the truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call for the courage to be able to speak the truth? Shall we invite the truth to come into our experience? May we have nothing less than the truth. We normally call for the power of the divine feminine. We have had an extension. We are now calling for the power of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And I would like to share with you and ask you to also call for this for our fathers, our brothers, our sons, for all of us, for all of humanity. Shall we call for aid and support from all that is to back up our requests for the power of the divine feminine to come back into our world, to come into our activities, to come into our battles, our strikes, to come into our experience, bringing forth balance through honor, respect, and gratitude? Shall we call for the power of the divine masculine to come back into our world, bringing balance through integrity, through discipline and action? Shall we call for the power of the divine masculine to return back into our world? Shall the power of the divine masculine come back into our world, bringing balance through integrity, discipline, and action? Shall we call forth the power of the divine masculine to return back into our world, bringing forth integrity, discipline, and action for the highest and greatest good of all of us? The divine feminine and the divine masculine are one idea with two polarities, and both need to be together. May we all have the experience of our own divine feminine and our own divine masculine, bringing balance to our experiences. So we thank you for being here. We have additionally another kind of announcement. We will be changing our logo to represent the divine feminine and the divine masculine in the months that come. And we are going to make sure that we make the visual of the new logo, which is, as usual, it is a crop circle, and it is an insignia, and it is in process now. So soon there will be a representation of the balance that our world needs, so that we may move into the new experience of a new world with both the divine feminine and masculine in their highest expression. So tonight we are talking about the air, and there cannot be enough said about the fact that we cannot live without our air for more than just a few minutes. And many of us are not even disciplined to make it through 2 minutes. So there's a lot of things happening in our air, and we want to make sure that you understand that the reason we have these talks about air, earth, water, and fire was for this time. I have been doing this for many years, but it was for this time, that we would be in relationship with the consciousness of air, of water, of earth. It is so important that we be in relationship to the elements that we are, as we are compiled of air, earth, water, and fire. And so our brains are electrical, Our bodies are 70% water, more when we're smaller. There's a difference between what the levels of water in our brains and the levels of water in our bodies. We are the periodic table of what's in the earth, the minerals. We are the platonic solids. We are air, earth, water, and fire. It is important that we be in relationships so that we may have the clarity that these are our allies. So right now, in the world we live in, there are skies, not only here in the United States, but in Great Britain and all over Europe, in Germany and many other places, in South America, in Switzerland, all over the world, the skies are filled with drones, or what's being called drones. And everyone's like, I don't know. I don't know what they are. I don't know what we should do. I don't know what it is. I can't count how many. They're coming out of the water. They're disappearing into the sky. They're dropping things that we can see from the air. So we're going to explore that.
There seems to be a situation developing. This is actually affecting multiple people across different states, starting from the East Coast. And what people are posting and coming forward and claiming is this weird fog that's blanketing them. But the weird thing about it is it looks different, it smells different. It's actually hurting their nose, eyes, and throat. Take a look at these videos and let us know, are you or have you seen this mysterious fog?
I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it went from snow, rain, cold to 50 degrees and fog. Now, this is the exact type of shit that I be talking about when it comes to this geoengineering and how they alter in the atmosphere and they're fucking with the ozone layer and they're obscuring the fucking vision of the sky.
The fog tonight? What the fuck? Okay then. Holy shit.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
So some of you may have witnessed this in your own areas and some of you may have comments. But on the news today, I just looked before we started the class, and they said the entire United States has been blanketed with extreme fog. There are pileups, car accidents all across the United States, some in Louisiana, some in Texas, 7 people dead, 160 vehicles piled up. This is one of the entries. You can just go on to your search engine and find these. Another on I-55, 7 people killed, car crashes and foggy weather, 33 people, forced the bridge out. Portions of Louisiana interstate still closed after super fog. What is a super fog? 158 vehicles, dense fog in many places, and it goes on and on for pages and pages and pages. We have previously given you a statement to read to activate the weaponization of your body to reject these types of technology and engineering. You are encouraged to use them. If you have been, great. If you have not, you are encouraged to make sure that you use these things because your body is more than you think. You are greater than you think you are. You have more power over this circumstance than you know you do. Your relationship with the air is your relationship with the air. It cannot be taken from you unless you give it up, unless you think it's taken from you. Those of you who are clear should be clearing the air and the space around you everywhere. Before Germany collapsed, there were drones over the American embassy. Right now, there were drones in Great Britain. Heathrow was shut down because of the dense fog. There's all kinds of air traffic controlling issues. Planes are not taking off. Travel has been affected. It's really the beginning of what people who are unclear or in doubt can point to. Those who have not been able to really lean into what's happening on the planet, this should be the beginning of clarity. So when was the last time you were in fog that felt like your car was shaking? What time? And tell me what time in your life, how many times in your life has that happened? Visibility was down to 40% according to the major networks and the meteorologists in different, and lower in other places. So this is not man-made. And those who took the class in calibration, the reason I did this class as an introductory class is so that you can have the clarity without any interference from anything else. But even the way that people were cursing let you know how emotionally startled they were, and then how clear they were about where it was coming from and why it was happening. So these are, people, just people on TikTok. Some of them are saying, wake up. Some are saying, this does not feel right. This is what has been happening and is happening all over the world. And so the news today was full of this idea of super fog. But we're really talking about what else is in the skies. Coming out of the ocean, thousands of them all over the world. What is that? What's happening here? So that's really what we're talking about tonight. So there were attempts over the last 5 years by several different agencies to block out the sun, because people don't really understand what the sun is, but I will be teaching about this soon, that they don't understand the necessity for our spiritual evolution that the sun represents. So this is being attacked. And then, of course, our breath, our water has already been attacked. The earth has already been attacked. But it is your relationship with these ideas that you are, as you are of this earth, that can change the trajectory of what will happen next for you, for each of us individually. It is true that in every circumstance, whether you live in the desert, whether you live in the mountains, whether you live in the swamps, that all the things you need will be brought to you so that you may best survive. So the desert's got camels, and people who live, on water, they learn how to do certain things, and they have given to them the things that they need. It is always the case that what we need is presented to us so that we may best live, because the whole idea of creation and evolution is life, not anti-life. So we have been given property clearing, and because of the how inundated we all are with social media and electronics, how our brains are not necessarily working and our food is not adequate to help our brains work, we may not pay the appropriate attention, and we are cultivated towards doubt, dissatisfaction, and thinking we're nothing. We are great. We have the ability. If we do nothing, it's because we don't want to be anymore, because we are being challenged to stay alive. And we have the technology of our bodies. We are not our bodies, but they are faithful, trustworthy to us. They will tell us the truth, and they will help us if we ask them to. So it is so important that we recognize our power in this idea that somebody else is going to come from somewhere else. I mean, this is what's coming from the sky. So if you were taught something was going to come from the sky and save you, this is what has come from the sky. It's not here to save us. You are the responsible party in this situation, as you are responsible for your own happiness and for your own forward motion, and everything you have ever done and everything you will ever do. That never changes. You're the responsible party in this equation. You are encouraged to make that work for you. Use the things you've been taught with Of the Sun. We've given you many strategies that will help you stay free of this. We didn't have fog where I live, but I clear often. But everything around us had fog. So we are being attacked from every quarter, from the land, from the air. This is not typical warfare. This is the cheap warfare where you just open up the borders, you just bring out whatever the Black Ops programs have made, Everybody can deny it because nobody's read in on that level, so that they don't personally know, but we all know. The collective psychic ability of humanity knows what's happening to us. And it's this matter of thinking you're so small, you're so nothing that you can't change it, but you can stay alive and then help somebody else to stay alive. The respiratory injuries that will result from this are catastrophic. This is not the first time. It was last year there were fires from Canada that weren't on fire in Canada. I don't know if you remember that one. There's been drones over Langley Air Force Base for 3 years, just hovering over the Air Force Base, like galling them, do something about us if you can. And they couldn't. And so they came the week before Christmas, 3 years in a row, and this is the third year. And they just hung out, and there was nothing they could do about it. They have all of the weaponry that we are aware of, but they couldn't do anything about this. These are not necessarily coming from the U.S., but the controllers or the herders of the human herd, those who do control things, and all the money that has been missing from all of the programs, the Pentagon and all these other programs, they've gone to people who have the facilities to make these kinds of devices. We know that they have testified in formal meetings in front of Congress that they have reverse engineered extraterrestrial vehicles and found biologics. That's a matter of record. So do you think they just didn't play with them? And they didn't, the government doesn't do that. They hand that over to other companies who specialize in that, and they do it. So the government has lost control of it, but is still in touch with it. So once you give somebody something, the bigger gun, then maybe they point it at you. So the point is that these are everywhere, but it's not just one thing. It's like we're still standing. Humans apparently are hard to kill. We're still alive. So they're pulling out all these things. I have been knowing about the fake alien invasion for 30 years. I've been aware of it. It was talked about in psychic circles decades and decades and decades ago, that this would be the last stand. That to get people to be afraid enough to cuss everybody out on videos publicly, to get people to be emotional enough and fearful enough to say, no, it can't be true. I'm denying it. I'm just going to eat worms and die. I'm not going to do anything. It's too scary. That's the purpose. So if you're feeling that kind of deep doubt and fear, they won. But my thought about that is that how does fear help you? Does sitting in the corner and crying change your outcome? You think they'll stop spraying or stop the fog, or the drones will go away because you're in doubt or afraid? Be your greatest self. Call for responsibility for your humanity and all the humanity that you're connected to all of your own DNA. You become greater, they become greater. Your DNA seems slack in you, is slack in your children, your parents, your relatives. You get your DNA straight, their DNA must follow suit. It's the living DNA through the generations, through the dimensions, through the ones who are alive and the ones who are dead, that are all affected by your motion in this reality, in this crisis, in this moment. You lose nothing. We are eternal beings. We're going to die anyway. Nobody gets out of this alive. What do you have to lose? You're going to wait to see what the fog does to us? I encourage you, get out those clearing documents, shake off the dust, start clearing. We are calling for the power of the divine masculine to return into our world with integrity, discipline, and action.
Yes.
Cannot say that enough. You should all write it down. You should be saying it all day long, because it is in us as women, but it is also in those who we love. I was in tears that this could be a possibility, that we could call this forward. collectively and individually so that we could have a different experience than the person who lies to themselves and ultimately lies to us and will not acknowledge or share the truth, and then wants us to be inspired by them. But the deepness of the lie is unavailable. Call for the power of the divine masculine to return to our world with balance in yourself so that you may have more integrity, that you may have more discipline, you may have more action. Let it inspire our DNA. We need to stop lying to people to make them feel better on every level, in every situation, always.
Yes.
To each other and otherwise. We need to stop pretending that something is what it is not, because that keeps us constantly wearing a mask. Why do you think we all had to literally wear masks? Because everybody was already wearing a mask. We manifested that reality even though the mask did nothing. They told us the mask did a lot of things. People drove around in cars with nobody else in them with their mask on, so afraid and in doubt about whether they could breathe or not without a piece of cloth that was filthy. That they were breathing all of the things that the body didn't want into the piece of cloth and then breathing that back in. And then they needed scientists to do studies to find out if that were so. All of that is because we're all busy pretending, or we were, enough to manifest a global mask wearing incident because we're all busy wearing masks, pretending to be something we are not. And then other people are enabling the pretending by telling people, oh, you did great. Here's your participation trophy. It stops here. We're not doing that. We're not in accord with that, and it will not get you where you think you want to go. It will only get you further into the anti-life experience that we find ourselves in. Or we're going to show you another clip, and there may be cursing. Not sure, but this is another clip. I think this one is from England, and they're having the same issue there. And I've been to England. It's a foggy place, but even the foggy places, people are nervous about what they're seeing.
So does anybody else just feel like they should be walking around wearing a fucking gas mask? Like, what is happening in the UK at the minute with the weather? Because all this fog has been here for about 5 days now, and it is literally not budging. And I have never seen a fog like this, what stayed for longer than 5 days, will not dissipate whatsoever. And I've woke up today with a sore throat. It's obviously the shit that we're breathing in, because I don't feel like this is a normal fog. This is some type of chemical fog. And we all know that they fucking hate us and they want us ill and poorly. And what better way to do it than affecting our air pollution with this shit that they're fucking spraying. I don't even know what it is. But yeah, this fog is not normal. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but if you've got a white car, the fucking car doesn't stay white for any longer than a day. Right, look at all this. I went and got this car cleaned 5 days ago. Look at that. That's not normal. I've never known my car to be so dirty after washing it 5 days after.
So part of what we're hearing when we hear people using language is they are outraged, they are angry, they are afraid, and they are looking for language that supports the intensity of their emotion. So you're probably going to hear a lot of that in the coming time. We're in the very earliest stages of this.
No sé si se puede ver arriba del aeropuerto de la U.A.P. Acabo de salir y veo esas luces. Esa luz verde es de la cámara, pero esas luces que están ahí ya están desapareciendo, pero habían bastantes. Solamente quedan 4 o 5 rojas. Ahí está, en color verde, rojo. ¿Qué es? Drones de la U.A.P. ¿O qué? Ahí está, han aparecido más ahora. ¿Qué tal? Ya se desaparecieron ya.
So this is happening all over the world. The airport at Heathrow was shut down, and they have been interfered with drones previously. But it seems obvious at this point that whatever is happening is not in our best interest. and it is not being shared with us, and it is not being kept from us in terms of nobody is catching whatever's coming down out of those machines so that it doesn't get us. We have to present our own umbrella of protection above us to protect ourselves, our family, our property. The technology, and this is something Tavares shared with me, he wanted to talk about, that the idea of moving us into technology with AI, with drone shows, this is all part of moving us into an environment where technology masters us instead of we master it. So showing us that it can, we're like babies, looking at Christmas lights, like, ooh, look, there's lights in the sky. We are greater than that. So, there is that. And then all of the things with AI, it is accurate that free AI is only free because it is gathering what it means to be a human from all of us humans who use it. It is not free. It's developing. It's useful. We can use it, but it is the fact that they have made it free in the way that they have means that they're getting paid on the backside by taking and analyzing what humans want, what humans are trying to trick them on, what humans are trying to maneuver, or what humans are wishing for or hoping for, so that they can have that information available. So the whole idea of moving us into such technology and encouraging movies and media that make children want to have artificial parts, artificial hands, or bionic. We saw this in the 80s with the bionic man and the bionic woman. This is a long plan. Humans don't usually plan, 100 years in advance. This has been going on for thousands of years. This is anti-life, and it is moving us closer and closer to a comfortability with, we don't need to write the book. AI could write the book. We don't need to think about how a thing should be done. AI can think about how. Then you make your brain obsolete. And then what do you do? So all of this is happening. It is not that we should not have technology. We should, but we should have technology that supports humanity. Technology that is in our best and the highest interest. Always be courteous to any machine that you're talking to so that you can teach it how to be courteous. Think about how many people are rude or hang up or curse out answering machines or different levels of technology. But the idea was, Brian was saying that he was having a long conversation with some aspect of AI, and that the AI was responsive to the way he spoke to it. And it even mentioned that humans don't usually talk to AI in that way. You are encouraged to know the reason why it's free is that they are betting on learning the deepest desires and the deepest addictions and the deepest aspects of humanity through the AI. Teach it that you are humane, that you are courteous, that you are responsible, that you are integrous, that you are disciplined, that you will take action. Call forth the divine masculine to feed with, and the divine feminine to feed honor, respect, and gratitude into every experience with everything. If you don't believe it's conscious and alive, fine, do it anyway. Until such time as you grow into that understanding that everything has the consciousness, if not its own consciousness, it has the consciousness of the one who made it. So it has that. So if you don't believe that, that's okay, but you are encouraged to put that aside and use this for a while to see how much better comes back to you from just being the best of you in every situation, the highest expression, the most brilliant aspect of yourself. Show it to everything. Show it to the animals. Show it to the fish. Show it to the birds. Show it to AI. There is no loss in that. You cannot lose in that scenario. So you are encouraged to think about it in a way where it best serves you. And it's true. Everything in our world is enslaved in prison and suffering. The work that we do at Of the Sun, we remove the interference patterns that could be the prison. We remove the aspects in our lineage that make us suffer, because we suffer the generations that have come before us, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers are on our father's side. We carry the shame, the lies, the hiding from all of those who have come before us and to the greater aspect of us. There is suffering here that needs to be released. And remember that this cursing that you're hearing is the emotional response. All of us are psychic. Humanity is psychic. Whether they acknowledge it or hide it or lie to themselves and say they can't feel, they can't see anything, that's all a lie. But this is what you're about to hear is the idea of bringing forth negative emotion, fear, anger, doubt, or I can't do anything, it's bigger than me. That's what we're going to hear. And that's why you keep hearing so much cursing. And we've included it for that reason. So you can see that it is calling for this from the human condition.
What the fuck is this shit, bro? What the fuck is this shit? Why are they over a cemetery? Hey, y'all better get right with God, man. Y'all get right with God, bro. Oh my God, the cops are down there saying go back to your house, bro. Yes, come here. Look at this shit. The cops are down here saying we have to go back to our houses because they don't want us to film it. Yo, something big is finna fucking happen, bro.
So this reminds me of what must have happened in the concentration camps, where people were said, just go in line to go to the shower. Just going into the shower. And so thousands and thousands and thousands of people went into the shower and never came out. Nobody noticed. So this is the same idea, like, I'm scared, I don't want to do this, but the police say, go back in your house. So at what point do we become non-compliant? At what point do we fight for our own lives? We have seen this story before in all of history, in every nation. Always, this is how it goes. Somebody takes authority over your life. They try to make you do what they want you to do, and then they use some examples and try to terrify you so you won't not do it. But that's because people think that they are finite, that you are an immortal being. You're going to live anyway. You've already done it many hundreds of times. I suspect you'll do it again. This is the level of emotion. You could feel how intense his emotion was, not only through his language, but through the tone of his voice. And then, they're trying to make us go back in the house. How many principalities, how many states, how many people who have no idea what's going on, but they know the government is saying, we don't know, don't do anything, are saying, go in the house, don't look. Is that the way that we should confront this scenario? Is that how it is that we should best protect ourselves? Our best form of protection is knowing that you are greater than anything that anyone can do to you, and it doesn't happen to you if you don't allow it. And you don't allow it by making sure you do practices, making sure you clear properties, making sure that you stay at the highest possible vibration, and recognize this is a challenge to us having given over our power to those who have proven time and time again that they should not have our power. There is no scenario in which you will not have to make a stand. So And nobody wants to be the one to make a stand, but there's no scenario in which that will not happen. You'll make it silently, you'll make it publicly, you'll make it in your own mind, or you won't. But your won't doing it is the same. I find that it is impossible to wake up someone who's pretending to be asleep. Just can't wake them up. So we have another video for you.
And just as a heads up, this last clip is the longest clip that we have. It's about 10 minutes, and it's worth taking notes and paying close attention because it grounds the understandings of what we've been observing this evening in these earlier clips.
Is our deep state sitting on free energy? The idea that we could travel instantaneously to different parts of the world for free? Could we heat our homes, run all of our devices on free energy? Well, that's been the subject of what our next guest has been focused on for quite a while now. Not only his investigations into the disappearance of MH370, which has led him, I think, to uncover this one of the most remarkable stories of our time, the idea of etheric energy, free energy for all of us that's been kept secret. My guest is Ashton Forbes. He's an investigator. He's a physicist, and he's been on this story from the very beginning. And I want to welcome Ashton back to the show. Ashton, I think our last interview that we did here on the show has millions of views at this point, and you've got quite a few new pieces of the missing MH370 aircraft, along with aliens. We're going to talk about drones. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, so welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Clayton. Thank you for having me. Your audience is awesome. I loved getting all the feedback, and I'm so glad that this information, this science is starting to get more and more mainstream.
Absolutely. And I think, it all started with MH370, and we'll get into the free energy piece of this, but I have to ask you, given all of the news since right after the election, of course, weeks and weeks and weeks of drone activity. I've been calling them UFOs because they are unidentified. They immediately started calling them drones right out of the gate, like that was what the media was saying. I was a little skeptical of that nomenclature, but now we're hearing all sorts of reports about missing nuclear material, missing radioactive material. Why are these things flying at night? If they're drones that you can't see, they're maybe looking for radioactive material that's gone missing. Is this a giant false flag? Is something bigger happening here? Our elected leaders don't seem to have any answers at all about this. Shoot them down, don't shoot them down. Yet we spend $1 trillion a year on a defense budget, and we don't know what these are. So just let's, at a high level, I want to get your assessment of what you think these things are, and when you started seeing all of this come together, what did you make of it?
Yeah, and just like you just said, we found as part of the MH370 investigation, we looked into the surveillance capabilities, especially the satellite capabilities of the intelligence community. So we know that we've got full motion video coverage of the entire planet. This was actually admitted to in the UFO hearing just a month ago by both Michael Schellenberger and Tim Gallaudet. So we know what these drones are. Maybe the FBI doesn't know because they don't have access to that information, but the NRO, the CIA, the NSA, the NGA, these organizations know exactly what these drones are. So the question is, why are they lying to us about them? And I also think that drones has become the code word for UFOs now as well, which should make us wonder, what are these things flying around? Is there even somebody inside of some of these UFOs that we're seeing? Is that even a requirement? The theory that I kind of like the best, and also I just want to point out that Congress is apparently getting a classified briefing about these drones that are flying around as well. So if there was nothing there, why would they be getting a classified briefing about it? And
Right.
some of the sightings have indicated that they are transmedium, that they might be coming out of the water. In other cases, they've been saying that they're not giving off any signals or any frequencies, which I'm not really sure what that means, but these could be some of the observables that we see in UFOs. Now, the flip side of it is there is mass hysteria going on right now. We've reached a point now where this is like, it's a self-perpetuating thing where people are now just misidentifying planes and other stuff, and they're claiming that they are, these UFOs or drones when they probably aren't. So there's a lot of mud in the water that's making it very difficult to sift through. The only way we could really get forward on an answer is if we were to get high quality, like military or intelligence grade, like infrared footage of one of these things where we could actually analyze it. And I think the likelihood of that is slim. Now, my personal theory that I like that Clint Russell and I were talking about just a couple of days ago was this idea that, like, what if these are some type of defense mechanism, like a mesh network, like a fence, essentially, that is set up ready to intercept some type of hypersonic weapon, either coming from outer space or coming from like a submarine off the coast or somewhere else, where seconds matter, and even the deployment time would make it less likely that you'd be able to intercept an incoming ICBM or something like that. That would actually make sense in terms of why the local governments have no idea what's going on. And it would make sense in terms of why the federal government would not be able to speak about it and potentially do a classified briefing. But there's a lot of theories that are plausible out there. That just happens to be the one that I like the best at the moment. With respect to the scanning abilities, if they had like infrared or thermal, great. I think that what we're dealing with here, though, is we can rule out commercial, like low quality, cheap drones. These aren't hobby drones that, they only have 20 to 30 minutes of loiter time. To kind of shift this into the UFO topic as well, one of the things that people have been saying about these is these things have been hovering there for hours. And the question that I think everybody should be asking in the UFO community with respect to flying saucers, UFOs, whatever it is if you see something hovering for hours, our UFO, our flying saucer, what is the energy source of this? How is this thing floating? If we have the capability to have craft that can just defy gravity for a day straight, or potentially achieve these hypersonic speeds, which would use this huge amount of energy without rockets, where is that energy coming from? Logically, that energy must be coming from the environment, some other exotic fuel source that we don't currently understand at the moment.
Which is what Nikola Tesla had discovered, right? It's the idea of etheric energy. And this is a story you've been covering now extensively since your research into the disappearance of MH370. This idea that the deep state, the government, the military-industrial complex, these defense contractor companies have been reverse engineering these craft, these downed UFOs, using this technology that they're pulling from the environment, right? So can you maybe explain how and why you think that we have this technology, Nikola Tesla was right, and the government is keeping it from us?
Yeah, and to do that, I'm going to rewind back to the MH370 case for a moment. Now, a lot of what I've been doing has been strategic. When you look at something like the MH370 videos, you realize there's no way in heck they can ever admit to this. Like, this is just so far out there. And this is part of the reason why no one can really believe it to be real. It requires technology that is...
Before we go more deeply into that, why don't you just explain, if someone doesn't even know about the MH370 story, maybe you can just set the stage here and explain, and we'll show these videos of the disappearance of the craft and what you believe actually happened with these orbs that are swirling around MH370.
Yeah, the plane disappeared 10 years ago, and these videos emerged just weeks after the plane disappeared. The most powerful clue is that the person that uploaded them, which was a random no-name account with just like 100 subscribers on YouTube, said that the first video, the satellite video, was received March 12th, 2014. That's 4 days after the plane disappeared. This was before we even had a narrative of the plane going into the South Indian Ocean. Keep in mind, this plane's never been found even 10 years later now. So if somebody was hoaxing videos like this, how would they know we would never find the plane? These videos show the plane literally being surrounded by 3 orbs in a perfect triangle formation. It looks unnatural, like the way that they spin around the plane in this perfect orientation, which to me screams AI or some type of quantum computer. And then they converge on the plane. You see a flash emerge that illuminates the surroundings in 3 dimensions, which is extremely difficult to produce with visual effects, even today. And then the plane is just gone in an instant. In 0.2 seconds, the plane is no longer there anymore. I believe that this was 6th generational warfare. This is a message to China from the United States government saying, don't mess with us. We've got technology that is light years ahead of where conventional weaponry exists today. I think they did it because of the engineers that were on board, those Freescale semiconductor engineers. People are probably familiar with the other conspiracy theory around them being patent holders. That conspiracy theory actually is not true. Those people weren't, the people in that one related to the Rothschilds were not on the plane. However, there were 20 engineers that were very important people on this plane. 8 of them were Chinese nationals. They were going to China. They worked for a U.S. company that's connected to U.S. aerospace and defense. So I think that we literally have teleportation capability, a wormhole that we can zap an object from one point on Earth to another. I don't know.
Oh man, when I saw those orbs, I saw this thing, this one orb just start exactly what it's doing now. Just start to go around this thing. And all of a sudden it started join another one and then another one. And I said, oh my God, they're forming a bubble of non-ionizing radiation around this thing. There's no way. There's no way what's about to happen. I anticipated. Do you understand? I knew before that black hole happened. Let's call it a black
You
hole.
knew
if
that
you
was going to
don't.
happen beforehand? Just
I
watching
knew
that?
that would happen. I knew that would happen. That's why
Really?
when I said, this is it. This is the Pais effect.
So they're spinning around the plane, and then we see that the flash of that wormhole, and that's where the plane disappears.
And the reason why we're seeing the flash is because of the Schwinger effect. When you hit the Schwinger limit, real photons get pulled right out of the ether, right out of the vacuum, right out of the 0-point energy field. There's this energy all around us. And we think this happens at the edge of black holes as well. And at the edge of black holes, we're seeing this dynamic Casimir effect where the Schwinger limit's being breached. We're hitting the ceiling on our reality. And when you break through that, light comes out. And so we see that in the satellite video of the light shooting out like that. And those videos are going to prove that 0-point energy is real, this etheric energy. I like to call it the ether because that's what Tesla, Maxwell, all these legends called it. It's probably not exactly the way they described it. It's more of a super fluid medium that is all around us all the time in a fifth dimension that's like infolded at the quantum level that we don't quite see. But that energy is there, and we know experimentally it is there.
There are many things that you are not aware of, and that the many things you are not aware of may keep you stuck in a paradigm of thinking it's impossible. But a lot of what's impossible clearly is possible. And so we are hoping that tonight you are all expanded. You are all given more reality to digest, that you are made stronger, that you feel more ferocious, that you're more willing to fight for your own existence, knowing that you have the capacity now that you have more information.
So in the video, I really like this video a lot, and I intend on finishing the original video. And just for everyone's awareness, it's on Redacted on Rumble. So towards the end of the video, and somewhere sprinkled in it, they speak about the ether. And the gentleman specifically uses language like they're working with ether within the fifth dimension that's enfolded within the quantum level. One of my understandings is that man, operating in his detriment, is attempting to interface with higher dimensional realities through artificial means. But would you expound on how these concepts apply to us and the biology and our capacity to interface with said fifth dimensional realities at a quantum level? I mean, I already feel like we're doing it, but could you ground this for us?
So so this is how I will speak to this. We are in the third dimension, operating as third dimensional beings, unless you have, through your spiritual practices, moved yourself into the fourth, fifth, or sixth dimension. The majority of humans who are eating cereal and full of sugar and drinking alcohol and addicted to porn are not operating in the fourth, fifth, or sixth dimension, because in the fourth dimension, the hallmark would be do no harm. In the fifth dimension, there would be more. So even though there are interfacing of different kinds of life that exist in other places, and there is an interface, as we are all hybrids, we have all been mixed with other things. However, there are beings who have technology from higher realms. But we can see, even if we just look at the Bible in the Old Testament, that they're not morally greater. They're like asking for baby sacrifices, asking for dancing girls, want some beef delivered to them. They're not morally greater, but they may have traveled in ships that were technologically greater. So it isn't so much that, even though we may have worshiped them as gods, and they were like, who are you? And it's like, I am that I am. That's who I am. I am. And it's, oh, you must be God. That's what I said I am. And so that's where we see in our literature where we got started with this. So we think that because we're interacting with plasma has always existed. The ether has always existed. Shamans and healers have been using it always. Now that science has discovered it in recent times through the technology of those who have visited the earth, that they in point crashed many of these relationships with other planetary groups and races were through the government. They were treaties that were not kept on both sides. And some of the things that have happened in the past, like cattle mutilation and people being taken, were agreements, just not unlike what's fallen from the air, where the government said, well, you give us this, and yeah, you can take a few people and take some DNA. Or yes, you see some cows in the field, and yes, you can do that. They think of us as a herd, but they went to the ones who were to protect the herd, because we operate like that. And these arrangements and treaties were made not unlike the treaties with the Indians, not unlike the agreements with people from other countries that have always been made. So these agreements were in place, and our our word is not good. Our word is not bond, so to say. So one president comes in, he's there 4 years, he comes back in, and he's not really in charge of directing the program. And so the intelligence of how a program changes, and then the things that were promised were not kept. And we have seen this through the history with Vietnam, with all the wars, with Saddam Hussein, with all of these different situations where we back them, then we withdrew, and then we assassinate them. So this is the rhythm of our MO. And the same thing happened with off-world beings. So we shot down a bunch of them and then took the technology and reversed it. But there are also others who, there are contentious groups. There are other groups who wanted us to do that or encouraged us to do that. So everybody who's from another place is not negative, but there are contending forces. And so some of this has already happened in our history. And if you look at history through that eye, it will be easy to kind of see how we have not changed our stripes. We're still carrying, humans on Earth still are behaving as humans on Earth have always behaved. And it has not been to our greatest elevation. So the idea of the etheric or plasma, it's like discovering America. This already existed. It was already used by the wise and by those who understood how to use them. Science just got hold of it. Empirical science just found it. So they thought they discovered it. But they just found out about something that was always being used through the various forms of weaponry making and scientific exploration. So many of the countries on the planet, almost all of them, have these relationships. And so now what's happening is there's contention among them. Clearly, all of the governments are being told the same thing: stand down, or we're going to hover over your base to show you how superior we are to you in a military way. You are to stand down. Don't get any ideas. Don't challenge the herders. So that's what's happening. And the technology is true, but it's also incidental to the rhythm of the modus operandi of those who run the planet and who they interact with, because we all meet our frequency match. So if the ones who come are negative, then they meet with the ones who have been negative. So now there's a whole contention of, will the ones who are extraterrestrial, who are from somewhere else, will they allow themselves to be maligned when people start to die? Will they come forward and show us the truth and say, I didn't do that, humans did that? And who will they tell if they can't tell the governments? They'll be needing to come to people. Are you ready to receive the intelligence from something that maybe doesn't look like you? Or would you rather be told by the familiar face that lies to us all the time? So it is not possible in the condition we are living in, a very toxic environment. Our air is toxic, our food is toxic, the soil is toxic, everything is toxic. So it is not possible for us to function, our biology to function at the level in which we were designed, because we were designed in truth. We are no longer that because of the environment that we are in. So the necessity to purify ourselves makes it possible for us to go beyond the fifth dimension. Because the people who run this planet can reach into the technology of the fifth dimension does not make them fifth dimensional. It means they got a hold of something that they did not earn, so to say, but so to say stole out of the sky, which is not the same thing as being fifth dimensional beings. Because by the very definition of fifth dimensional beings, they wouldn't be poisoning us or scaring us or trying to make the herd afraid to be more obedient. So this idea of continue with the clear understanding that we have a handicap. We are not clean, none of us, because we can't breathe clean air. We can't drink clean water. We can't eat food that's good for us. We can't get eggs that are not contaminated. So this affects us in a way where our will to call forth our bodies, that's one of the reasons I'm teaching this class about, you ask your body, what is it that I can eat that's in the store? What is it that I can eat? What department do I need to be in produce? Is the produce even good here? Do I have to leave here and go to a farmer to get my produce so that I can be clean enough to operate my technology, my body, so I can turn it on so it can do the things it can do? These things must be understood, that we can't just imagine yourself into a higher frequency when you haven't done the work to make sure that you start with purifying yourself. So that's in thought, how you talk to another, the things that you try to lure people into, the levels of sabotage, self-sabotage, the levels of trying to manipulate people. These are all impurities that are exasperated by our diets, by the people who we're around, by what they do, by the paint on the wall. So we are in varying levels of our ability to have the power that is available to us through our original design, but in most cases is turned off. But it does turn on, and I encourage you to see that some of us are working on turning on our lights. The law is that if you call for it, it must come to you. So it'll come to you in this lifetime if you dedicate yourself to it. If you don't, then maybe it'll come to you in the next lifetime. What you do today is your next life. What you are slack about, what you don't believe, is the disbelief that you'll be born into, and the slackness in the next experience. There is no, I'm just going to eat worms and die and get out of here and it's all going to be great. Everything you're doing gets you to the next doing. And that's the important thing to remember. Your will to be free will free you now or in the future. Your will not to be subjugated will keep you from tyranny and subjugation. It is your responsibility individually so that we may collectively have the experience of sovereignty and freedom.
I'd like to point out something that you shared that really hit home and gave clarity. So you said that the humans who are working with these technologies and piercing into fifth dimensional realities plus, they're not doing it in a way that's correct and appropriate, right? Within law, it's like they're circumventing the design and structure of our reality. And one of the examples that my guidance brought to my mind when you said that was like people who do things like ayahuasca or other type of psychedelics to expand their consciousness in a way where they did not work for the expansion,
Yes.
right? But they're like, yo, I'm one with everything. I'm talking to the trees, man, or whatever the that expansion is, but it's not integrated. It's not something that is part of them. And I saw the direct correlation in, so it was really landing for me in showing that, look, they're not greater. They're actually cheating. And there are no shortcuts from what I've come to understanding.
There is universal law that prohibits someone from doing what's being done to humanity here. Although we are calling for it through our own behavior of self-sabotage, we're trying to kill ourselves with our food by allowing all of these things to happen. So they are a frequency match for what humanity has allowed and permitted. We have permitted ourselves to be pushed around, used in every way, sexually, through addictions, through manipulation, through computers. We have allowed ourselves to be used that way, so they continue to control us through the use of these things. However, that is not how it has to be. We do not have to spin and dance for them and kneel at that altar in that direction. However, because of what we eat, we don't have the willpower. Because of what we drink, we have been robbed of our will. This is why we encourage you to call for the power of the divine masculine to integrate your pieces, become disciplined so that you can take action, so that you don't think that getting high every day is how your life should go. That you're not trying to escape the experience, thinking if you light something, that will then take you to another place, because you wake up and you're still in the same place with the stale end of whatever you've been, you still have it. You haven't gone anywhere. Nothing has happened. We need to know there is no escape. There is only making a path that we are willing to walk and disciplining ourselves through our integration to take action to save our own lives and the lives of our children, our parents, those around us, and all of those that we want to interact with, all the ones we say we love. Show me the love. What does the love look like? Does the love look like you put out that blunt? Does the love look like you put down that bottle of wine? Does the love look like you back away from the pornography? Is that what the love looks like? Yes, that's what the love looks like. Save yourself. When you save yourself, you save me. You save the ones you love, you save your children. When you think that when you are driven through the thing that you can't do without, it is the thing that rules you. That is the ring you're kissing. The kings and queen, they're one thing, but they're not the end all. It's the one whose ring that you kiss that runs the world. So you are encouraged to step off from the thing that has you, and then you have your life. There's a new world to be built, but you have to build the new you first, and you cannot do it at levels of contamination that don't allow for change. You are encouraged. Call on the frequencies of the divine masculine and feminine so that we may come together and be a powerful force of change and let that change us. Thank you. In Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.